They get
Could have been
3.
I could have been completely cool, like I had done it right, but no. And as anyone watching the stream can see, if we're even on the stream now, because who knows?
We are actually.
Um,
I just
but
started
if we're
it.
on the stream, you can see how I have decided to have more beard and more glasses than Ben. Ben has a beard going and glasses, but I have surpassed both those areas.
And how does that
So
make you feel, Paul Goody? Do you feel
I feel
superior to me in
good,
some
Ben.
way?
I am feeling good about it. Also, now these I was about to show my address on YouTube,
Yeah, don't do
which
that.
wouldn't have worked. But these are socks from a subscription service called the Awesome Socks Club. Now, my family has a subscription to these based on the generous love of Stephen McCandless. But I also, in a very gift of the Magi, except for myself, so if I had bought them for, if I had, I guess, given away my feet in order to get, anyway, I got a subscription myself before I knew that Stephen was giving them to me. These are the socks for this month. A
Awesome
little bit of
socks?
a
What's like
dagger
a
going on, yeah.
sock of the month
There's
club or
a,
something?
yep, exactly. There's a potion on one side and a dagger on the other, which is apropos because this weekend we went to the Renaissance Festival.
Ooh, a Ren
And
fair.
yeah, Ben, for those people who are watching us on the stream, I'm going to do something very exciting that is completely visual, and therefore the people who are not watching us will have no idea what I'm talking about. But Ben, for you and the people watching on YouTube, I'm even going to remove my headphones for a moment so you can see the full wonder and glory of this thing that I bought at the Renaissance Festival. Here we
All
go.
right.
Taking off the headphones.
Which means he can't hear what I'm
You'll
saying
still
right
be able
now.
to hear me. But
It's a Flash helmet. It's a The Flash helmet. Or it actually looks more like a The Flash shower cap.
it's a yeah, it's sort of a like a what do you call those helmets that people in World War One wore when
Helmets.
they flew airplanes?
Do those have a specific name? They're just like leather
Pilot
caps.
helmet or leather caps or whatever. Yeah, it's like one of those, except it's got sort of wings on it. Here's the thing: I saw it and I said, someone is really going to enjoy that. It looks
Not
pretty
me.
cool. And then I was walking away and I was like, oh shoot, I was born on the Mercurialia. Supposedly, I at least have some affinity for Hermes, and therefore owning a winged cap seems correct for myself. So I have done so. I now have one,
You do have
and
one.
I have a whole outfit for Sunday, which is going to be Halloween. Those of you listening to this on the podcast feed, Halloween has already happened. But for those of you, right?
Yes. In fact, this will, if I get my act together, this will drop on actual Halloween Day, which is not, as we've discussed in the past, the day that your town celebrates.
Uh, Trick or treating happens on the 30th.
Which is my mother's birthday.
Hey, well, happy birthday to your mom. It feels to me like a horror film plot. We don't celebrate. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Oh, we don't celebrate Halloween on the 31st.
That's
The 31st is
satanic.
when we have the parade. You're going to the parade, aren't you? We have a special role for you to play in the parade. Here, put on this bear costume. So yeah, it's pretty good. Also, if I talked already about how I'm drinking coffee again,
No, I find that surprising.
Well, Ben, it all boils down to, as you know, I am on the Boaz Frankel diet.
Well, now here's a
Again,
question. Are you drinking iced coffee or hot coffee? Because I've known you to drink iced coffee in the past.
I am drinking hot coffee with non-dairy creamer. But here's the thing, Ben. I actually got a French press. So I am drinking not just coffee, but I am drinking variants of it, including tea and coffee mixed together, coffee and turmeric, coffee and cocoa, actual cocoa, like one would put in a hot chocolate, that sort of thing. Just all sorts of things and coffee mixed together.
You're messing
And
with
it's
perfection. Coffee by itself
very
is
fun.
great.
Coffee by itself is great, and sometimes I simply have coffee.
I actually don't. I have a French press too. I don't really like French pressed coffee.
Really?
Yeah.
That
And it
that strikes me as being odd because you are a fan, and I want to apologize to everyone for the fact that my ceiling fan is in my shot. I know Ben as a videographer who cares about lighting. This is like the worst thing. Oh, you know what I could do? I could turn that light off. Let me do this. I'll do a couple of
the
things.
reason I'm just going to finish my thought here. The reason I
Oh
don't
yeah, of
like
course.
the reason I don't like French press coffee is not because of the taste. I enjoy the taste. It's because you get the grounds in your coffee cup. So
Oh,
at the
I
bottom
do
of your
not.
coffee mug, you have this coffee sludge. And it's not just it's not maybe you have a brand new French press and the screen isn't as bent as
I
it will
think
get
that must
in
be
the
what it
future.
is because
There's a coffee
because
shop down
I
here. There's a coffee shop down here on Capitol Hill, and their drip coffee is not drip coffee, it's French press coffee. And I hate getting drip coffee from there because ultimately the inside of the cup is coated with coffee grounds.
yeah, no coffee grounds on my French press. I just bought it. That might be why. But the other thing is that it's a small French. Here, I can even show it to you. Again, bonus content for people watching on YouTube. Hold on, Ben. Just wait
People
1 second.
on
Oh my God.
YouTube watching.
Ah,
Did he
what's
fall
happening?
over?
Ah,
Do we need to call for help?
I'm
Edward!
good.
Save
Call
him!
for help.
Edward!
Um. So yeah, here we go. So this is my French press. It's by Bodum.
Can't see it. You gotta put it in frame.
There
There we go. Yeah,
it
put
is.
'em.
Very small.
It's red.
There's the screen that I use.
Yeah.
Has these little things on the outside. And yeah, you put it in there, and it's got this extra little filter thing here in the front,
Yep. Standard. Standard.
and yeah,
What
no
I would do,
no
so
coffee grounds.
I have a little pour over cup topper. So it's basically just a plastic cone that fits over the coffee cup. You put your filter in and put your coffee in it, and you just pour hot water into it, and that's how it makes coffee. When I would
Huh.
when I would make coffee with my French press, it got to the point where I just got so sick of the last few sips of my coffee being gritty that I would pour the French press through an actual coffee filter in this pour over thing
Wow.
into the mug, and I'm like, I just got to take out the middleman here, and then I just started, and then I bought a pour over unit, which was basically just a glass carafe with a little armature that holds the filter bucket. But then, sometimes in the morning I didn't want to take the time to gingerly and lovingly pour the water into the coffee. So then I bought a Mr. Coffee.
Mr. Coffee seems like a good plan, right? I mean, we're getting to the point, Ben, where most things are a much more animist sort of relationship where everything is going to have some tiny little bit of AI built into it. So why not already start anthropomorphizing your coffee maker? It's performing a service for you.
Well, speaking of AI in your coffee, um, coffee
Is that AI in your coffee, or you just what happened? Okay, go ahead.
actually,
Sorry.
ma'am, I am not happy to see you. It is, in fact, AI in my coffee. And I leave it up to you to guess what that means. There are DRM Keurig pods. Have you heard of these? You probably have because it's been out for a few years.
I know what Keurig pods are, but are you saying that there are some pods that?
Yeah, so Keurig, the Keurig 2.0, for those listening who probably don't know what a Keurig machine, you probably do. I'm going to explain it anyway. It is a single
Yeah,
cup coffee
it could be
service.
out.
And so you buy these little pods. They look like kind of like the pods of creamer you'd get at a Denny's, and you stick it in the
No one's gonna
thing.
know what creamer or a Denny's is.
Okay, fine, a Sherry's.
It's
Anyway,
a small plastic cup with a
yeah,
foil lid on top of it
and
that's
it's got
adhered to the plastic cup.
coffee grounds in it. You close the lid. You stick it in the hole in the top of the Keurig. You close the lid. The Keurig shoots hot water
It's a
through this
machine.
pod, and
The
through
top
a
is
filter.
pierced by the
Yes.
machine when you close it.
So what has happened, and Keurig actually faced a blowback for this. I think maybe even Starbucks does this as well. So there are companies that sell Keurig pods, but they are not Keurig branded.
That's right.
So what happens is Keurig actually puts a little bit of it's probably not like an RFID chip, but some sort of thing on the bottom of their pods. And the new Keurig brewers, the new Keurig machines, if it doesn't recognize a Keurig pod, won't brew. So let's say you bought from Costco 1,000 of these, Folgers coffee pods for your Keurig. Won't be able to use it in your Keurig 2.0 because your coffee maker will only allow you to use Keurig branded coffee pods.
And now it's time for
The
company
rest of the story.
apologist Paul Goody coming in to save Keurig from feeling bad. It's because you never know, Ben, what these third-party coffee people are doing with their pods. It could break your Keurig machine. It's going to lose its
No.
warranty.
Yep, that's you playing devil's advocate company apologist, and not just Keurig playing by the home printer rules, which you make the coffee maker super cheap, but then you charge a lot for the pods.
Hey, speaking about the future, Ben, have you heard?
Future Ben.
Oh, it's Ben's gonna guess the news.
Ben's gonna
is
guess.
what's
Da, da, da,
got
da, da.
news about things that there are actually two bits of news. Two bits of news. One about things that I am very excited about, and then the other
AI art generation.
a thing that actual people might care about.
Marvel
So yeah.
movies.
So okay. First of all, let's go with the AI art generation. You already guessed the category. What is the news, Ben?
I'm gonna need some more direction or a
Okay,
hint. I am
okay.
not as tuned into this world as some people on this show.
Oh wow, that was a weird whistle. Shutterstock.
That's your sibilance showing.
Are you familiar with Shutterstock?
Oh yeah, it's a place where you can buy stock footage and images.
And what else can you do with it? With images on Shutterstock?
They allow you to edit them, though I've never done that.
They also allow you to sell them.
Oh yeah, if you are
using them as a marketplace.
Creator, of course.
So
I'm thinking about the end user experience.
What paradox has arisen from Shutterstock moving into the AI space? The AI art space.
What paradox has arisen from Shutterstock moving into the AI art space?
That is correct.
Nothing's coming to me now. I'm guessing that
Well, we've talked about this before, right? Do you remember what the last Ben's gonna get some news was?
Microsoft was using some sort of AI generation in Bing search results.
That's right. So use that. And now what is Shutterstock's business model? What do they do?
I don't know. They use AI art generated images in Chrome's Google search results.
No. But you're getting warm. They're doing something with AI generated images.
Well, I mean, the obvious answer to me is when you search for something on Shutterstock, it creates the image for you as opposed to showing you an already established like photo from a photographer.
You will be able to purchase somehow AI generated images from Shutterstock.
Yeah.
Now, paradoxically, what has Shutterstock decided to do? Very similar to something that Getty Images has done. I don't know if I've mentioned it to you or not, but that was already in the news back in September. Shutterstock then will not allow you to sell an AI generated image on their marketplace.
Oh,
So you
okay.
can buy one from them, but you cannot sell one.
So what's the generating AI behind Shutterstock? Did they license something
OpenAI, the same
from
people, they're licensing
OpenAI?
OpenAI, the same people that
All right.
did the licensing with Microsoft.
So you go through and you search for a specific image in Shutterstock. I'm assuming it'll allow you to
Yeah,
opt out of finding of an AI generated image versus a
I mean,
non AI generated image.
I don't know. They've announced it. I don't think they've started it yet. As a person who has dabbled in UI before, if they don't offer that as an option, it's dumb because they should.
Yeah.
And you're just going to frustrate people who didn't want it.
Right. Right. Sometimes people might not
Again,
even know.
this is the other thing that's going to happen. We've talked about this before. How you and I can go to our respective older relatives' house, see the aspect ratio of their television being off, and it just driving us nuts. But
Yeah.
they can't tell, right?
Right.
I think in the same way, you and I maybe will probably be able to say, I think that image is AI generated for a while, at
It's
least.
coming back to how grandma got a brand new 16 by 9 TV, but it's showing all the letterbox content squeezed because for whatever reason. Is it because grandma can't tell or grandma doesn't care?
It's
So
because I think,
is
yeah,
is there going
that's
to
a very good
be
point.
is there going to be a user base for Shutterstock who just doesn't care if there are images are AI as long as it fits the bill?
100%. 100% yes. Although I will say this, those people also most likely just going to download a picture from Bing rather than paying Shutterstock.
Right. Well, I mean that's what people do on Google search images anyway. Why should I pay for this image of a car when I can just steal one from the internet?
You wouldn't steal a picture of a car from the internet. So
Yep.
boy, shout out to anyone who got that reference. Really shooting the needle.
Yep.
But yeah, some of the things that us older folks on, because like I said, I'm up
Almost
there
50.
on the mid journey thing. A lot of people are in their 30s or younger.
Yeah.
There are some older people there, but one of the things we talk about is how we were alive when VHS tapes started to be offered and when they stopped being offered. Same thing with CDs. So that's really interesting because there are technologies that have gone obsolete within our lifetime and have been innovative and then gone obsolete within our lifetimes. It's pretty
That's
crazy.
the mark of progress.
And so that's the question is, AI generated art, what we think of it now, right? Eventually, I feel as though we're just gonna, you know, anything you want, you're gonna be able to get for, some price. You
Which
want a new pair of
means,
pants, you can have them printed
yeah,
for you.
which means the cost of actual non AI, non 3D printed stuff is going to be a premium. Because
Yeah.
AI generated stuff is just going to be everywhere. It's easily accessible. But if you want an actual photograph of like a woman in a wedding dress in the rain, you're going to have to pay for that.
Yeah, exactly. You can get a picture of a woman in a wedding dress in the rain. It might be really good. It might be really good, really clear, and all that. But you're not going to want to pay for the fact that it's really good like that. You're going to want to pay for the fact that an actual woman had to get into a dress and stand in front of a photographer. It's going
Yeah.
to be, the artisanal kind of side of things. Sure, maybe the AI image is better even. Maybe it looks better. Maybe the lighting is better. Maybe all that. It's not going to matter. It's not the
We're
same as having
okay.
a person there.
We're talking about craft. Do you think that typesetters in the newspaper era thought the same thing when printing, when like rolling printing came about? You're
When
taking all
dot
the
matrix
you're taking all the artistry out of my craft, man. People are
dot
gonna want to pay
matrix
for this.
printing, right? When dot matrix printing came out, and there were print shops that had that, people who were typesetters were like, "Man, look at this,
I can see the
no problem
dots.
whatsoever." Yeah, you can see the dots. No one's gonna want that. And then some people were like, "I don't care if I can see the
Yeah,
dots. Look at,
it's
I just
cheaper.
printed." Yeah, exactly. And then eventually, printers got to the point where they could emulate, print. Still,
I can
I'm going to
even
be old man yells at cloud right now. Still not as good as typeset print sometimes. Doesn't look as good still sometimes.
still though
Problems.
I can download a font that looks like a typeset printing job and print that on my LaserJet printer.
Yeah. But you can see the little the tiny imperfections still. People talk about how black and white photography, right? The skill set for black and white photography. There's so much stuff that doesn't apply now because of digital photography. Like there's stuff that I Sarah H. I won't say her full name just in case she doesn't want to be identified, but the person that I worked with on Lowell work on Bravo um was taking a class on this, and that was the thing that she said. They were taught techniques, but the instructor was like, your digital cameras, this doesn't matter. You won't
Yeah.
be able to do this. Someone pointed out, they said that, oh, pretty soon AI is going to be able to do anything a painter can do, and the answer is absolutely not, because the medium is different and physics are different. And so a painting in a gallery is not going to be the same as an image on a screen,
Right.
at least for now. Now, is it possible that you could build a robot that paints really well? Yeah,
Just
sure.
imagining some sort of Jackson Pollock robot.
Okay,
It's a
this is
garden sprinkler.
this is another thing that people say, when you talk about AI art, they lots of times bring up two things. They bring up Jackson Pollock. They're like, I
Really?
could do what Jackson Pollock did. No, you can't. First of all, you might think you can, but no. Jackson Pollock does a totally different thing. A Jackson Pollock looks like a Jackson Pollock. Your Jackson Pollock imitation doesn't, most likely, unless you're an actual, there's some artistry there that people miss out. An AI could make a painting that looks sort of like a Jackson Pollock painting. It's not going to be a Jackson Pollock painting, obviously. But throwing that out there as something that doesn't really have artistry behind it reminds me of the thing about the CIA doing the culture war with modern art. Look it up sometime, people. I'm not going to get into it, but look up sometime. The CIA actually was involved in the modern art era, Jackson Pollock type stuff, getting more play. So it's kind of interesting. But the other thing I will say is that the banana taped to the wall thing.
Yeah.
When people say taping a banana to the wall is an art, the one thing that I always want to say, but I don't, because this is what old guys do on the internet. Well, actually, I did blah blah blah. You and I are performance artists. If taping a banana to a wall isn't art, then I don't know
I don't know
how
what
to
art
explain
is.
any of the stuff we did. Yeah, people. I'm positive that there are people who would say that we are not artists. I know that. I know that. Sure. Okay. Whatever.
The interesting about the people who say, well, I'm assuming this. I'm sure it's not correct because I actually not heard anybody say we aren't artists. But I would assume that the people who say we aren't artists have never tried art.
Well, they've never. I will say this: they've never tried to do what we do.
Yeah.
Um, I okay. So, I told Jennifer about this, and I think it'll be okay. I'm gonna put a disclaimer here that there's some lewd talk that is going to happen.
Great.
I was on a poetry. I was in a poetry class. This was in Columbia, Missouri, in like the 2000. No, oh shoot, the 90s. Sorry, the early
Ooh, it's
90s.
a long time ago, Paul.
And there was a guy who was like, "Oh, it's not poetry unless it rhymes. I love, Jesus, that kind of thing."
Yeah.
And there were others of us like me who thought that we were like, really saying something, using bad words and doing stuff and all that. And so he wrote this thing that was supposed to be making fun of us, like he wanted to make fun of the folks, but he wrote this thing that stuck with me. It still sticks with me to this day. You probably have heard me talk about it before, but if you haven't, this is the first time. Um, he wrote, "I found my dad's nudie mags, and as I was masturbating, I realized that this is the closest we had ever been
This is
as
this
father
guy's.
and son." He wrote that because he wanted it to show how awful we were and how bad people were. But all
This
I
is what
could
you
think of
sound
was,
like.
this is the best thing that you've ever written. You will never write anything this good again. I will never write anything that good. This is what you build your career on. He did not. He went back to his other stuff. But sometimes trying to make fun of the thing that you don't like can give you insights into stuff that you.
But you also kind of proved his point because he wrote something that he thought was something that sounded like you, and you really loved it.
That's a really good point. I didn't think about that. But yeah, I mean the other thing is he was trying something. He had an intention
Yeah,
in
yeah.
mind.
Misguided as it may be, but
Yeah, exactly. And he was exploring. He was doing something that he didn't do. All that stuff. Put that all together. So I feel as though the next version of this AI thing that I'm using, Midjourney, is coming out soon. Right now, they're having us rate a whole bunch of images, and the basic thing is we're not supposed to rate. Does the AI match? Has it guessed the input that you've put in? It's just supposed to be, do you like the way this picture looks? And so it's really interesting when doing that, just finding out, um, you know, the pictures that it puts out. There are a lot of the same picture, right? A lot of the same kind of this geographic deer skull versus this geometric, sorry, not geographic deer skull. I'm gonna put that in now. It's probably gonna be a deer skull with a whole bunch of houses on it, but
It's on a map.
this geometric deer skull or this one, different colors, different shapes, and all that. But there's some stuff that it has that's really interesting that
Can you see
that I find
other
cool.
people's input on these images?
Yes, sometimes.
Can you see
Hey,
like a
I do have
score?
a really quick question. No, you can't see a score on it. That's something that they haven't done yet, which I think is actually good. But there are rankings though. I think there are, like, I never go to them. I don't care to, but I think there are like highest ranked images on the site because I know that because sometimes accidental porn shows up there and then everyone freaks out. Because you can make an image off of everything. You can make an image off of anything. But I think I've mentioned this before. This new model is being trained without the porn.
Yeah.
The original data set had. Oh, did I talk about have I been trained? I did. Did you look at yourself in it? Did you look up any of your photos?
No, I haven't. I did not look.
I think I might have mentioned this. I don't know that the results are from 5 billion different pictures. And so I was thinking about this. If there were a class action lawsuit against, because that's what people are saying. Well, there'll be a class action lawsuit, and then you'll see. How do you do that? How do you say, well, I'm one of 5 billion people that trained this AI? Have we talked about how diffusion AI works? Have we talked about that?
I don't believe
I'm gonna say it again, and if you're like, oh wait, yeah, we did talk about this. Okay, so first things first, you have a drop of ink in a glass of water, clear glass of water, drop of ink. It makes that little pattern, and then you stir it up, and then the whole water turns the color of the ink, right?
Yes.
Like a drop of red ink turns red.
Sort of.
Now, that's an example in chemistry of something called irreversible change. You can't make that water go back to that drop. But diffusion AI works on that principle. So the basic idea is this. You take an image. Let's say it's an image of me. Oh, look, it's a guy with beard and glasses. And you and you, Ben, as a videographer, can you explain to people what Gaussian blur is?
I don't know why it's called Gaussian blur, but it is just a method of blurring the pixels.
Right, the pixels kind of mess up somehow. Whatever.
They blend. They blend.
So you have these points where you stop. Right, you start with the regular image, and then you go to point A, and point A is like 10% Gaussian blur. I'm making this up. Point B is 2, so on and so forth, all the way up until you're 100% Gaussian blur, no discernible picture, just a cloud of pixels. Right.
Yeah.
And then what you do is you reverse to the last keyframe, right? And you're like, okay, pixels, here's how you move to make this less blurred picture. And you teach it to go all the way back to from the no image all blur to the original picture, right? And you train it to do that hundreds of times. A guy with beard and glasses, a picture of a cantaloupe, a picture of a bicycle, somebody holding a sword, that kind of thing. Just you do tons of those. After you've trained it like that, you give it a randomly generated pixel cloud of noise that was never an original picture. And you say to it, okay, reverse it, get to the original image.
Unring that bell.
And it's looking, and it's like, well, I don't know, maybe it's this, maybe it's, it could be this. And it comes up with a picture of something, right?
Yeah.
And it could be noise, it could be a, mess, whatever. And so what happens with and disclaimer, this is me as a layperson trying to explain this. I could be 100% wrong, but when you go in and you type in woman holding a coffee mug, right? And it gives it that random image. It thinks about all the things that are a woman and all the things that are a coffee mug. And so when it starts moving that picture backwards, right, through that to unring that bell, it's looking for things that are most woman like and things that are most coffee cup like and whatever, until eventually you get a woman holding a coffee cup. So, me, as the artist who did When Elephant Met Giraffe, right, and had a picture of a giraffe and an elephant, I am one of the things it looked like when it figured out what elephants are, and when it figured out what cartoons are, and when it figured out, and all those elements go together to make a cartoon elephant, right? But it's not going to make my cartoon elephant. It's going to make a cartoon elephant based on what it thinks cartoons are, what it thinks elephants are, and things like that. It's not. A lot of people think that it's, that you're. Oh dear, I wonder if I'm still recording. Um, it's making me sign in. Normally I. Sorry, this will be just a second.
Well, while we're
Normally,
pausing, I'm just going to briefly mention that Gaussian blur is named after mathematician and scientist Carl Friedrich
test.
Gauss.
Oh no, Ben.
What did you
I
do?
have I unplugged the microphone. So Ben, talk to the people and tell them, well, it turns out that it's just been me talking for the last I don't know how long.
Oh,
Let them
Goody.
know on the podcast, Ben. On
That
the
it's
podcast. Tell the podcast people.
that Paul has not been recording his
Hey,
side of the audio
I'm
track.
back. I'm back. Yeah. For those of you not listening, or those of you who are listening, yes, for a little bit that was just Ben on the audio track. Maybe you could hear me a little bit through his headphones, but Ben's one-sided conversation did not last too long. It lasted as long as it took me to unplug the USB for the microphone, which you probably heard. Ben, it couldn't have been more than a minute or so.
I'll just steal the audio from YouTube to fill in the holes.
Hey, exactly. Steal the audio from YouTube. Why not? That's internet culture, right? Anyway, so so basically, I maybe stopped explaining. Oh, that's too bad. But basically, the idea is this: you train it how to make pictures out of static, then you give it static, and you say, "Hey, this is probably what this is a picture of," and then it makes that picture, right? That's what you're doing when you're training the AI.
You say to it, "I think this is a picture of an elephant and a giraffe," and it tries to find the elephant and giraffe in that
In
noise
that
cloud.
static, yeah,
Does it
exactly.
not go through and come up with what it thinks the picture is?
That's what it, well, you could, if you didn't give it any input, if you gave it like three, or if you gave it a bunch of random gibberish or numbers or whatever, it tries its best to turn whatever those words are into the
Yeah.
thing that it turns the picture into.
Okay.
But the main thing is this: when it makes a picture of a cartoon giraffe, it is not going through all the pictures of a cartoon giraffe and stealing bits of it and putting it together. It has learned cartoon, it has learned giraffe, and it is making a picture of a cartoon giraffe, which is why the idea of a lawsuit saying I contributed to making this picture and wasn't paid for it, wasn't compensated for it, doesn't exactly work. And I think it's why the companies aren't really afraid of it, because when you know how it works, my contribution to it, I mean, yes, without me and the other 5.8 billion images, it couldn't work. It needs that data to train on. But if you think of a human artist who walks around and looks at stuff and looks at, like, people, when they think that this is how it works, they think about how they work, right? I want to draw a picture of a rhinoceros. I'll go on to, not everyone, obviously, but a lot of people go on to Google Images and pull up a rhinoceros and they use it as a reference. Or they have a book on how to draw animals and there's a picture of a rhinoceros and they use that picture as a reference and they're drawing that picture. That's not exactly what it's doing. It knows what is rhinocerosness, and it is taking this noise and making it more rhinoceros-ish. Yeah. Anyway.
I'm guessing that there's not going to be any major class action lawsuits because people are worried that images that they've provided on the internet have been used to train these AIs. Not until these provable images have been used to create a piece of media that does make money, say a movie or something.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and then this is the other thing, right? One of the things that people always bring up is that the AI has been putting watermarks on things and signatures, right? And they're like, oh, this proves two things, right? One is this proves that it steals things from regular artists because that's their watermark there, I bet you. But that watermark is just another piece of the image that it saw, from the data set that it has. It does show, and I don't think there's any dispute, that data sets have been training off of artwork that the artists have not been consulted on. No one called me and said, hey, we want to train our data set off of you, right? Didn't happen. But in the same way, if my signature isn't going to show up on a picture of the cartoon giraffe that it creates because it took it from me, my signature is going to show up because my picture of a cartoon giraffe had a signature on it. And so it's like, okay, when there are pictures of cartoon giraffes, there's a squiggle in the corner. I got to put that squiggle there, that sort of thing. The fun part, of course, is that other people are like, it's signing the work because it's sentient and it knows that it's artwork. It's not the case. Oh, yeah. Steven? Are you going to say Steven?
Yeah,
hey.
Steven has joined us.
Hey, Steven.
Couple comments. Some of the moments have passed. However, I'm pretty sure that class action lawsuit is going to have a tough time against the AI lawyers for the defense.
Yeah, Steven, if you haven't read it already, The Stones of Significance, I think it's David Brin. It's a short story, and it's about a guy who creates. It's just part of this. There's a bunch of different parts of the story, but part of it is that he creates an AI lawyer to argue for allowing an AI to be declared sentient. It's great. It's a really fun read.
He also said previously, it sounds like Paul is creating giraffes from a vacuum, like the Big Bang calling the universe out from nothingness.
Yeah, I feel as though, the novelty of this stuff arising, and it's actually, I guess, the opposite of the Big Bang. You're taking all the dust of the noise and consolidating it into something. So it's actually a implosion.
But then creating something new from that consolidation.
Well,
you're taking a picture of a giraffe, taking everything everybody has ever known about what giraffes looks like, turning it into a little ball, and then creating another picture of a giraffe from that.
You're taking a cloud that doesn't look like anything, and then taking everything people know about giraffes and moving the cloud into a picture of a giraffe. The picture of the original picture of the giraffe isn't there. There is no original picture of a giraffe. What people know about giraffes, so like imagine, if you will,
forget everything you know about giraffes.
Forget everything you know about giraffes. You're only gonna need the edge. Oh, sorry, everyone. Wait. It's an instrumental. Yeah. It's an instrumental U2 concert. Tell Adam Clayton to stay at home because you're only gonna need the edge. Yeah, I don't know. It's almost working. But so the basic thing is that
Why did monster truck shows only happen on Sundays anyway?
Yeah, because the Lord was afraid.
Oh
It's
God.
yeah. Do they go to the monster truck rally after church? I wonder. Maybe so. So I will say this, that the the fun part of all of this comes when two people who made a very similar picture on AI end up suing each other for copyright infringement. That's going to be the fun part. Two
Yeah.
people who insist that the thing that the AI spit out is something that they own, will be the fun part,
I
and it
think
will happen. I think.
So Steven just sent me a couple of shots of pages from Rude Awakening. I think sort of like boasting that he not only did he know the book you referenced, but what pages to take a photo of.
Oh, that's great. Of course he did. Why wouldn't he? Um, yeah. So right now, like I said, I'm voting on all these images. The other thing is that the the fun part about what we're voting, again, not voting what the AI with the AI understood the prompt correctly, but just voting about what we like,
Yeah,
is
so
that they're
it's a very subjective vote.
right, exactly. They're trying to use the users as data points on what one considers beauty. But the other thing you have to understand is that there are a bunch of factors that we, the AI art making community, think about that other people don't. So, for instance, uh, ladies, women with like massive boobs
Careful.
were all that was being generated for a while. Like that was all that people were voting
Because
on and
these
putting
were
in and
all
stuff like that.
early 20 somethings on this
All
platform.
young, well, or 40 and
All young
50-year-old men
dudes.
with
Just all
with
dudes, basically.
issues, all dudes basically. And it was great.
Who
The
have
the
nothing
people who
better to
had
do
it,
than.
who were running it, had a thing where they invited a whole bunch of women on and said, how can we make this more inclusive for you? How can we do this thing? And it seems to have been working out. Uh, there's you know there's a move that people don't like where they took out uh, you know a lot of the exploitative kind of nudity stuff, and it's like, but that's what I wanted. And so again, I think that if Pornhub makes its own AI art thing, it's going to explode in more ways than one, Ben. And
Hey, like I
hey,
said, be careful.
but then yeah, I mean, because they're used to that kind of thing, right? Um, about being sued for what they have on their platform is what I'm saying.
Wait,
You need someone.
you're talking about Pornhub
Pornhub.
specifically, or just like
I think Pornhub specifically. I think they stood up to a couple of different lawsuits. I don't know exactly. Uh,
is this from
like
like
somebody went after Tumblr. Tumblr took all the porn off their platform, and then emboldened by that, they went after Pornhub, and it did not work. This is what I remember. I could be completely wrong. This is back when I was on the internet still, so those news features showed up. Bless you, Ben.
I just sneezed, but I turned my microphone down
Yeah, it was great.
because I'm
Real
a
pro move.
professional.
I was actually going to
Not a
comment on it
professional.
if you hadn't.
I I've not heard about the Pornhub lawsuits, but that doesn't surprise me.
I don't know if it's actually true. I just know
Well,
that.
just like in terms of, say, somebody, it's like revenge porn kind of thing, where you got an ex-boyfriend putting a video of he and his ex-girlfriend on the site. She finds it, sues Pornhub to get that taken down, gets
Can
all
I
the
tell
other
you
revenge
that
porn stuff off taken down too.
With my autistic brain, I did not understand what revenge porn meant. I thought that it was like pornography where someone was having sex with someone to get back at someone.
Best
I
serve
didn't realize that
steamy.
sort of like a, I don't know. Oh, I can't believe
No, yeah,
that.
revenge porn is not a genre.
Yeah,
it is an action.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for. I was looking for the word genre. For a long time, that's what I thought. You
Yeah.
killed my dad, and now something you
Get
may
ready.
not have expected. It's gonna happen.
That genre probably exists. I don't know.
If it doesn't, it should.
There was that whole thing where OnlyFans was going to get rid of all the porn content on their platform, but then
You know
pulled,
what? Maybe I'm
pulled
thinking.
back
Maybe I'm
because
thinking,
well, they pulled back because then they realized, I guess, that the platform would disappear.
I might be thinking of OnlyFans, and when I said Pornhub, maybe I was thinking of OnlyFans.
This also
where I said they went after Tumblr and then they had their sights on someone else. I think it was OnlyFans.
A lot.
I just know, those are the two names that I know.
I just may be misremembering this, but I think something, Steven, you might be, if you're still with us, you might be able to speak on this more clearly. Not that you anyway, maybe you know more about this than I do, but there's something to do with credit cards as well, where they were trying to get the credit card companies to stop enabling the transactions.
Yeah, this is all coming back. That's right.
So it wasn't like a blue clause or anything where like these Puritans are like, oh no, we have to erase porn from the internet. It's more like, well, maybe that's what was behind it, but the way to do that is not to appeal to a judge's morality sensibilities, but to the credit card companies and money.
We can talk about this. I'm sure Stephen McCandless, I know, knows about this idea. The concept of automation has historically, since the 80s at least. Well, no, I guess we're all the way back to the Luddites, right? Automation has cost people jobs in general, and people are starting to pay more attention because the jobs that are going away are white collar jobs and artistic jobs and things like that. And I made a statement that said, I think the future is going to be much more easy to navigate if we get rid of the idea that people without jobs don't deserve to be healthy, safe, and happy. That happy part is a long one too. And somebody wrote to me and said, well, I don't know what you mean by this. Can you expand on it? Because I think if someone isn't working, it has to be a good reason. And I'm like, being out of a job because automation has moved into that sector is an example of a good reason, I think. And we should be happy if automation makes a job that nobody wants no longer a job. That's great. What you can't do then is make it so that people can't live. And sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, finish your thought.
I was going to say, so I put that out there and someone said, well, I don't trust the DMV. Why would I want to give the government whatever? And I was like, who's talking about the government? In my opinion, the person who should be doing this, the people that should be doing this, are corporations. We think about evil corporations, all they want is money. They don't raise, wages and stuff like that. But there's no reason why they have to behave that way. They could behave differently. They don't right now, but there's no reason why they couldn't. And I thought of two examples. One is, of course, again, the LeClaire community that was started by N.O. Nelson, where you didn't even have to necessarily work at his factories, but it was a planned community, and you could live there. And there was an academy where you could learn stuff and all that. That's kind of cool. And Blackburn College, when it was founded by the Presbyterians, you worked 3 hours a day on the campus, and then you got to study there, and it was great. You could do stuff like that. People don't have a job where they work 20 hours a week. Maybe they only work 10 hours a week, or whatever. And then that's enough, and then they can have the stuff. That's all I'm saying. I'm sorry, I cut you off, and then I talked for longer than. And
there's an interesting shift happening in the manufacturing industry, because manufacturing is one of the industries, along with like agriculture, where automation is taking over people's jobs. And a lot of, they're trying to bring manufacturing back to America with like smart manufacturing, and a lot of the people who are still in that sector in America are losing their jobs. Quote, that's the talking point, losing their jobs due to automation. And automation is bad, and we're putting the Rust Belt all completely out of business because, or making them all, desperately poor because robots are taking our jobs. But the funny thing is, there's an incredible staffing shortage in the manufacturing industry. Manufacturers are desperate for people to work the robots. They're not finding them. And now all the boomers are retiring, taking all that legacy knowledge with them. And so it's a really big bias. So it's an interesting when people say, well, we're losing our jobs because of robots. Well, there's a job, you maybe you need a computer science degree for it, but.
Well, and that's the other thing is that, and this is one of the big points I made. The same thing with artists losing their jobs to robots, the same thing with manufacturers. You aren't losing your jobs to robots. You are not losing your jobs to robots. Management has decided to use robots and also not pay you for the work that they have assigned to the robots. The way I explained it was this: like, let's say you're on a spaceship, Ben. You and me are on a spaceship. It's just us, and we can do whatever we want.
Bad things have happened on this spaceship if just you and me remain.
Yeah. So you and I are on a spaceship, and my job is to pilot the spaceship, and your job is to work the computer systems. And you come to me and you say, Paul, I've just done, and I'm piloting the spaceship. We're always dealing with asteroids, so I'm piloting the spaceship 16 hours a day. I'm just piloting the spaceship and going to sleep, and that's all I can do. I'm working to the bone. You've got your computers set up so that they're all working really great. They're humming along. You said, Paul, I've got, all this time. What I've done is I've boosted the autopilot, so the autopilot can now navigate around these asteroids. All you need to do is check the pilot data 1 hour a day when you wake up, make sure that our route's correct, and then it'll take care of the rest. And I say, great, that's awesome. And then you say, so I don't know how you're going to eat anymore because you're not contributing to the ship anymore.
Yeah, you're no longer working on the ship. You're not cargo. Cargo doesn't deserve a meal.
It doesn't make sense. And the thing is, it's the death of community. That's why. We're automating a job, and we're saying to the people, well, guess you're going to have to find something new to do, instead of, hey, this thing that you've been working, for this long, now you don't have to do that anymore. All that you need to do is, stand around, watch the robots do stuff. We have these snacks for you and a foosball table and a whatever. If the robot breaks down and you need to step in and work, then you're here. Firefighters rules, right? You get to hang out until we need you. I'm going to give you a hint. If they could get rid of the people that do some of the hardware maintenance stuff for big businesses, they would, but they can't. And so that is how some of them who have worked out this little niche work, and it could happen. They could do it. There's no reason not to. Except they want to make more money. 400 times more than the regular salary.
Ultimately, the regular goal. Steven says about us being on a spaceship, is this show called Red Marshmallow or Marshmallow Dwarf?
Uh,
Going
I do
back
like
to
that. Red marshmallow is not bad.
I'm just gonna read his comments because he's been commenting
I
a lot.
think
Paul, you should probably, when we do this, just like open up a YouTube on a phone or another tablet or something.
Oh, I get
and
distracted though,
read
Ben.
the
Oh,
comments.
so I could read what Steven. Here's
Yeah.
one thing I would note though. Who's the lister and who's the rimmer out of the two of us?
What about
Here's
Cat? Well, can't one of us be Cat?
I'm gonna suggest. I Jennifer's cat. I'm gonna suggest this. I'm gonna suggest that people who don't know us would think that you are the rimmer and I am the lister, but people who
Yeah.
know us would know that it's the opposite.
Because I'm
That
the.
I am actually the more uptight guy.
Paul is read only. What was the android's name? Um,
Oh God, Crichton.
Crichton. Yeah.
It's good. Red Dwarf is good. Some weird stuff happened with the guy who played Dave Lister in like real life. I don't know exactly what it is, but I
Did
heard
Lister get in trouble? Did he get
heard he got in
canceled?
trouble for something. I don't know exactly what it was.
Speaking of cancel culture, Steven says
He might be fine now.
He says they always hit this credit. Going back to people who go after porn sites via the credit cards, they always hit the credit card processors. That's how they initially crippled Alex Jones. It's a big part of why conservatives are upset about cancel culture. Cancel culture is just a talking point that you can discuss with your polarized audience as long as you can take credit card payments.
Yeah,
Regarding,
we talked about Alex Jones on this place before, but I'm going to say it again because anytime someone mentions him, I like mentioning this because it blows people's minds. But Alex Jones was the darling of the counterculture in the early '90s.
Yeah, and in fact, you mentioned that last week, and I went back and I watched his section from Waking Life, and I wouldn't exactly call that acting. That's just like what's the word? A primordial Alex Jones. It's like he was finding his voice, and Linklater just happened to, like either know him or catch him or.
Well, he was a radio guy. His rants were known and all that. And it's one of those things of it's charming and weird and funny as long as you're talking about aliens and things like that until you start becoming more mainstream. And that's the problem that happened. Same thing, like I said, my fascination with Vermin Supreme at the time that he was running in the Libertarian primaries would have probably soured by the time he got onto a national stage, and he started talking about things that he would actually be doing. As long as he's talking about, having a Gestapo that makes sure that you brush your teeth, it's all funny, right? It's all good.
I mean, point taken. A lot of those people have actually made it to either high office or high cultural viewpoints. Vantages.
Yeah, it's for instance, there's a book of essays that I read that were like really great when I was into conspiracy theory and stuff like that, and it all sounds really funny, and then it becomes chilling once you start to think about crisis actors and things like that being something that actual people believe are things rather than a funny idea. So.
Well, that's just a reminder that if the Republicans or the conservatives accuse the other side, the leftists, the progressives, of doing something, it's an admission that the Republicans have done that thing.
I have already voted. I've sent my thing out, and it was the first time in a long time that I voted straight party ticket Democrat. And it is one of those things of we've got this two-party system set up, and it is actually a three-party ballot, but it's one of those things where they lost me during the mask thing, and also it's the idea of, hey, I'm going to vote over here because I don't like either group. is no longer fun and or funny. It is now more serious because I'm almost 50
Dangerous.
years old.
Yes.
And yeah. So on that note, yay!
Speaking of
fun
being
stuff.
almost 50, the show is over. Paul, thank you again for
It's almost
being
50
here on
minutes
time.
since the 10-minute mark of when we actually it is. Yeah, 50 minutes past the 10-minute mark. So yeah, hey everyone. Who knows what I said? Oh yeah, Ben's gonna put it in from YouTube. Well, I was gonna say, who knows what happened in the secret moments of silence when I was
Secret
talking.
moments of
Oh,
silence.
speaking about which, I saw some of For All Mankind. I saw like the first couple of episodes, I think.
Yeah.
It
I
was pretty
enjoyed it.
good.
It's a quality
The
show.
Nixon stuff. Yeah, it's like, yeah, Nixon probably would have said that. That makes sense.
Yeah. They do. It's a lot of future world building and what ifs,
Yep.
and some of it's interesting, some of it's not so much. But
Spoilers for All Mankind, because now we can talk about it. If I didn't talk to you about this on the podcast already, maybe I did, but that the reveal that it's the Russians was great.
yeah,
Where you're watching everybody watching, because they don't mention it. It's not something that you know until you know, and then it's
also.
awesome.
I mean, that's also the log line for the TV show. Is that the Russians beat the Americans to the moon. Whole point
Somehow
of the show.
I missed it.
Yeah.
Or I didn't miss it because we talked about it, but I missed that that's what we were watching, I guess, was the thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Right
I thought maybe they were walking. I'm serious about this. I thought maybe it was Neil Armstrong. He's walking around. It's about ready to plant the American flag, and then he sees the Russian flag, and he's like, "What the heck?" That's what I honestly thought. Like, he would say "what the heck" out loud, look to the camera, and then, but that's
It's
not what
one
happened.
small step for man, one giant leap for mother.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. Hey, thanks everybody for listening.
Hey,
And
thanks, Paul.
I've been Paul Goody. That's Ben Lawrence. And we're here to keep it wrong.
Keep
I don't
it
think that
wrong,
works.
Paul.
We'll probably not use that.
Keep
as the
it wrong.
Yeah, wrong. Yeah, nice.
Speaking of old
All right,
references.